That's what you want to do. Hey, go. Bring me down. Can't none bring me down. Am I? Yeah, there we go. Good morning. I can't help it. That is like the most danceable song ever written. I love it. I love it. So my name is Judy Nicholson, and I'm here to welcome you to the Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Manhattan. Everyone, and I do mean everyone, is welcome here. UUFM is a vibrant, inclusive congregation, widely known as a safe haven and a force for social justice, and a diverse, evolving spiritual community acting for a better world. And we've had, if you drove by Triangle Park yesterday, you may have seen one of our members, Kathy, in her orange t-shirt, handing out oranges for gun violence reduction. So we celebrate a lot of those good social justice issues on a daily basis. And this is a really awesome place to be on Sunday morning. So I'm really, really glad that you're here today because we are celebrating, and I love to celebrate. So a lot. So for this spring, I have celebrated multiple graduations, including my first granddaughter from high school, the end of school, woohoo, the Afghan community of Manhattan, birthdays, anniversaries, retirements, new life, and life well lived. I'm a house mom at a fraternity, and at the fraternity, we celebrate positive behavior, good grades, K-State athletics, fake Patty's Day, Thursday, Friday, and the college experience. So if I get up and there isn't anything particular to celebrate, I celebrate the beginning of each new day with coffee, and I don't take my coffee for granted. And I think we should celebrate coffee. Shoot, we do celebrate coffee. So, right, coffee, coffee, we adore thee. That, I think I just sang it to a wrong tune, but anyway, you know that one. So that's definitely a hymn that we sing occasionally at UUFM. So in addition to everything that I just mentioned, and anything else that you can think of to celebrate, we today are celebrating the 100th anniversary of the UU Flower Communion. And that's why we asked y'all to bring flowers, and we have all these beautiful flowers up here at the front of the sanctuary. And there's just no better way to celebrate than with flowers. And Isabel? Pastor Isabel will now light the chalice.
So good morning, everyone. I am Pastor Isabel Call. It's a joy to be the minister here at Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Manhattan. So our chalice lighting words are by Reverend Margot Reinhardt. As we light our chalice, may our breathing pause. As we notice the slight movement when light delicately flutters before becoming full flame. May this moment of possibility be a risk-filled invitation to pour ourselves into the heat of curiosity, mischief, celebration, and delight. Now please rise in body or spirit, and we will sing hymn 76, For Flowers That Bloom About Our Feet. Today's activity for the young among us is a field trip bingo. So today's activity for the young among us is a field trip bingo, and Miss Sandy has the bingo cards. They are preparing for our worship exchange next Sunday to Manhattan Mennonite Church. They'll be looking around here for various objects and comparing whether the Mennonites have them. So they will go do that, and we'll bring them back later for the flower communion. Let's send them on their way with our song. Go in. And now we have our acknowledgement, which will be offered by Diane Barker.
My sound guy had that all worked out. Okay, good. So yes, I'm Diane Barker, and I have been a member here since 2008. That kind of startled me. It's my joy to give you a land acknowledgement that celebrates the Native perspective on this world. So we're going to start with the little heartbeat drumming. The lub dub. Thank you. And I noticed some people closing their eyes. When we're doing that, this is ash, the frame. So this represents or stands for the plant world. The hide is a deer hide. So that's the animal world. It's a circle, the world, the planet, the universe, working in the round. So I put this up here so you could see the design on here is really 3 rabbits. It's kind of abstract at this point. But this is going to keep me on track so that I don't digress too much. I want you to experience the Native philosophy through these 3 principles. So the first one is place. And this quotation comes from Wisdom Sits in Places, Landscape and Language Among the Western Apache, a book by linguistic anthropologist Keith Basso. He quoted the ancient indigenous Greek people. Place is the first of all beings, since everything that exists is in a place and cannot exist without a place. And so from that foundation, everything springs. All this beauty, all the beauty in the world and the gifts that we celebrate spring from this place. Second principle is that we live in a gift cycle. We're given water to drink, air to breathe, food to eat. We can't make that stuff, it's a gift. So it's our duty to give forward what we're given. The last rabbit is that we're all related. There's no avoiding it because we ride Mother Earth and we are sheltered by Father Sky, Sun, Moon, and the stars. We have a common reality and we are related. I will say aho because I'm finished. Aho. If you agree with what I said, please say aho. Aho. Thank you.
Here at UUFM, we give our gifts on Sunday morning, financial gifts to a special organization each month. Our June Helping Hands recipient is Shepherd's Crossing, which offers budget counseling, referrals, and small grants to Manhattanites in need. And we have Kathy Swenson here this morning, who will offer a few words of context for those who don't know much about Shepherd's Crossing. Kathy is our social action lead and Helping Hands coordinator.
So our Helping Hands offering does go to the Shepherd's Crossing this month. And I would just want you to know, and these are some things I'm just learning too, that it opened in 2001 when the churches in Manhattan found that there were getting a lot more requests for financial help and other kinds of help. And as Pastor Issa said, they help in budget counseling, referrals to other agencies, utilities, rent, and prescription medication. You can go to their website and find out more. I found out that one of their clients they featured in their March newsletter was a senior, about 61 years old, earning $10 an hour. And she ran into lots of difficulties because she got ill and her car broke down. And so the Shepherd's Crossing helped her with her rent for 2 months and helped her to apply for a grant through Project Deserve. And Catholic Charities assisted with a portion of her electric bill. And so she got lots of help from them and was very grateful for that. Incoming President Jeff Morris in that newsletter said they really are seeing that inflation in energy and transportation costs has a disproportionate impact to their families now. And as they're finding, Beth Klug too, I talked to her, I went to visit her at the facility at 621 Humboldt. And it was really busy that day, and she was willing to give me a little tour of the place, but she did tell me that they are seeing more people with more needs than ever. She thought it might die down after the COVID emergency, but it's increased. It's gotten more need. So their goal is to raise the profile of need in the community and help prepare the organization for a good future. And it's a volunteer-driven and a donor-supported organization, and they depend on their continued support from the community. So they're just seeing a record number of individuals and families who are facing financial crisis. They can use volunteers, all kinds of volunteers, not only for intake, but if you go, you'll find other things that you can do to help. Thank you.
You can donate here in the sanctuary by putting money in the basket in the back of the room. If you're here on Zoom, or later today, you can go to uufm.net/donate. I'd also like to invite you to use this time to write down your joys or sorrows for us to share together in this space. If you're here in the sanctuary, you might find a piece of paper nearby, or there's some on the back table with pens. And if you're here on Zoom, you can type it in the chat for Linda to read later. Thank you, Renee. We have several joys here in the sanctuary. But let's call up a spirit of generosity, vulnerability, courage, and compassion as we hear these joys and hold space for sorrow that may be in the room with us as well. So Kathy shares her joy that Betty Banner has been a volunteer at Shepherd's Crossing for years. And Betty carries that wisdom with her, and Kathy encourages people to ask her what that's been like. Sylvia Beeman shares a joy that the painting she has donated to the Juneteenth art auction is on display there. The event will be June 15th at Douglas Activity Center. It's on display in the window of the Gaia Salon at Fourth and Points. So thank you for your art. Larry shares a joy that he got the dates confused and spent the morning at the adult religious education of the Mennonite congregation. It was interesting information and a joyful discussion with old friends. Love our interdependent community. Chris Bailey had a joyful Friday evening, dinner with family, beer and theology at Judy Nicholson's, and then Mike Bonella's birthday celebration. Beautiful. And then Judy shares, I got to watch 2 of my granddaughters' dance recitals yesterday. So fun. And then finally, here in the sanctuary, John and Judy Extel traveled to Rye, New York, to attend the wedding of their daughter Sophie and Nikhil Sriram. They were joined by their son Charles and other family members, and were very pleased to meet many of Nikhil's relatives who traveled from Los Angeles, India, and other distant places. Well, congratulations, Sophie, and your family. So, Linda, would you please share with us any joys and sorrows that have come in on Zoom?
We have a joy from Lauren Clement. He says he is really happy to hear, to learn so much from the land acknowledgement, and thanks Diane for her addition of that to the service. And I'd also like to add that my husband was a volunteer at Shepherd's Crossing for many years before he became disabled. And it really is a wonderful organization. And we have no sorrows to report, so that is it.
Thank you, Linda. So to seal these joys that we've shared and to hold space for sorrows, Christy Elonius will share a reading by Richard S. Gilbert, and then together we will follow that with a moment of silence.
This is called To Savor the World or Save It. I rise in the morning, torn between the desire to save the world or to savor it, to serve life or to enjoy it, to savor the sweet taste of my own joy or to share the bitter cup of my neighbor, to celebrate life with exuberant step or to struggle for the life of the heavy laden. What am I to do when the guilt at my bounty clouds the sky of my vision? When the glow which lights my every day illumines the hurting world around me? To savor the world or save it? God of justice, if such there be, take from me the burden of my question. Let me praise my plenitude without limit. Let me cast from my eyes all troubled folk. No, you will not let me be. You will not stop my ears to the cries of the hurt and the hungry. You will not close my eyes to the sight of the afflicted. What is that, you say? To save, one must serve. To savor, one must save. The one will not stand without the other. Forgive me. In my preoccupation with myself, in my concern for my own life, I had forgotten. Forgive me, God of justice. Forgive me and make me whole.
Now we will sing together a simple song, I Know This Rose Will Open.
It's got a simple, beautiful melody, and if you haven't sung along with it before, you'll catch on to it really quick. What we're going to do is this. I'm going to play it twice at the piano. You can hum or sing along if you wish, and then I'm actually going to have Jessica, surprise, be my helper here. So everyone to this side of the clock is going to be group 1, and everyone to this side of the clock is going to be group 2, and we'll do it as a round. But first, we're going to sing it twice, or hum with the piano as you are comfortable.
Now we have a reading by Susan. A reading by Susan.
I always feel so old school when I bring my paper up here after everyone else has been using their phones and their iPads. This is Mindful by Mary Oliver. Every day I see or hear something that more or less kills me with delight, that leaves me like a needle in the haystack of light. It was what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant, but the ordinary, the common, the drab, the daily presentations. Oh, good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? The untrimmable light of the world, the ocean's shine, the prayers that are made out of grass.
So I will begin my words with a life story of one of our Unitarian ancestors, Norbert Čapek. Norbert Čapek was born in Bohemia, which is in what is now the Czech Republic, in 1870. At age 18 in Vienna, he discovered the Baptists, and he became a Baptist minister and church planter, founding a dozen churches from Ukraine to Budapest. As his faith became more and more liberal, he wrote and edited journals on a wide range of social and political topics. During World War I, Norbert was tracked and threatened by German authorities, which prompted him, his first wife Maria, and their 8 children to relocate to the United States. Maria passed away shortly thereafter. And Norbert pastored a Slovak Baptist church in New Jersey, and arose suspicion among some of the more conservative ministers who had him tried for heresy at the Baptist Association. That's how you know he's a Unitarian ancestor. So he ultimately resigned as a Baptist minister with the encouragement of his second wife, Maya, who was also a Czech expatriate. He wrote in his diary, "I cannot be a Baptist anymore, even in compromise. The fire of new desires, new worlds is burning inside me." Together, Norbert and Maya joined a Unitarian church. A few years later, they decided to take Unitarianism with them when they returned to Czechoslovakia after World War I. They founded a new church in Prague, which was highly secular. Services were mostly lectures. Many members wanted more spirituality, but they were allergic to elaborate ritual and ceremony. In 1923, 100 years ago this spring, Norbert designed the flower communion to meet the diverse needs of his congregation. It was simple. Everyone brought a flower from the countryside or their garden and collected them in a common vase. Then they went home with a different flower than the one they had brought. It celebrated their unity, diversity, and interconnection. Over the next 20 years, Maya was ordained a Unitarian minister, and their church grew to 3,200 members. This is not the end of the story. This is the part of the story where we are forced to remember that joy and sorrow are woven finely together in the human experience. During World War II, Maya relocated to the US to raise funds for relief efforts. She also pastored a Unitarian church in New Bedford, Massachusetts from 1940 to 43, where she introduced the flower communion that would be passed down to us today. Still in Prague in 1942, Norbert Čapek was arrested by the Gestapo, officially for the crime of listening to foreign news. But according to Reginald Zatoli, the gospel of the inherent worth and beauty of every person was, as quoted in Nazi court records, too dangerous to the Reich for him to be allowed to live. At Dachau concentration camp, Norbert led a flower communion service with other prisoners, finding flowers tucked among the weeds in the yard. In the words of Reverend Teresa and Reverend David Schwartz, they testified to a beauty larger than themselves and a love that would outlive them. Norbert Čapek was killed at Dachau. He wrote this just before he died. It is worthwhile to live and fight courageously for sacred ideals. Oh, blow ye evil winds into my body's fire. My soul you'll never unravel. Even though disappointed 1,000 times or fallen in the fight, and everything would worthless seem, I have lived amidst eternity. Be grateful, my soul, my life was worth living. He who has pressed from all sides but remained victorious in spirit is welcomed into the choir of heroes. He who overcame the fetters, giving wing to mind, is entering into the golden age of the victorious. It was not until after the war that Norbert Čapek's family and community learned of his death. We gather now 100 years after the first flower communion to remember him and to honor his legacy. So I grew up Unitarian Universalist, and I remember celebrating the flower communion. If I heard the story of Norbert Čapek as a martyr, I didn't remember it. I just remembered the flower communion being fun. For the 100th anniversary, the UUA has prepared many materials which inspired Judy to plan this service. And in many of these materials, it is framed as a ritual of solemnity and joy. One resource we studied quite closely asks for silence during the communion. And so we wondered, is that the right approach for us here, now? The words again of Reverend Richard Gilbert, I rise in the morning, torn between the desire to save the world or savor it, to serve life or to enjoy it, to savor the sweet taste of my own joy or to share the bitter cup of my neighbor. He's speaking of this universal tension between the birthright of celebration and the imperative of struggle. As an epigraph to his poem, he used these words of E.B. White. I arise in the morning torn between the desire to improve the world and a desire to enjoy the world. This makes it hard to plan the day. Those of us who awoke this morning in our own beds had many choices, many more choices than other humans waking in other places at other times. And as ethical people, doing our very best to live with integrity, to carry the visions of our hardworking ancestors, and to make a world worthy of our children, it is not easy to plan the day. It is hard to plan the day when we are both seduced by beauty and terrorized by credible threats. There are many ways that we plan to protect ourselves and our loved ones from threats. We find employment and use our income to build a safe home and savings. But as Universalists, we know that a world unsafe for those more vulnerable than us is also unsafe for us. And so we don't stop there. We also invest our time, energy, and resources into offering care and kindness to others, strengthening mutual support systems we know we need to. So that's why we include Shepherd's Crossing as an anchor recipient of our offerings every year. We go to school and we get training to be of service. We create and maintain healthy institutions. We unlearn harmful habits so we can protect others from harm at our own hands. We make plans to save the world. Naming celebration as a spiritual practice is also to make plans. It is to make plans to savor the world. A spiritual practice is something we do on a regular basis out of faith. It is something we plan for. We write it into our schedules, and then we protect that time slot from interruptions and repeated rescheduling. We treat it just as important as the work we've scheduled with the intention of saving the world. A spiritual practice is routine, but not mundane. It is intentional. We cannot guarantee that we will have any sort of epiphany or mystical experience during the time that we've set aside, but we do our best to clear our minds and open our hearts in case that happens. The spiritual practices that have been most meaningful to me are those like what Diane shared earlier that help me know that I am here. They are infused with gratitude. Celebration as a spiritual practice connotes gratitude too, plus a good dose of exuberance. As I got deeper into the planning for this service, I wondered if we'd given ourselves an impossible setup. Is it okay to honor Norbert Chapek with exuberance? Judy is nodding. I agree. After all, flowers are exuberant. In the video we showed earlier, we see flowers dancing as they get ready to bloom. And when the time comes, kazam! Wow, what a celebration. An explosion of yes. It's almost reckless, but it's entirely appropriate and correct. Judy was inspired to use the song Happy by Pharrell Williams today. I read the lyrics and I wondered what Norbert would think. And then I did a little more digging. The song came out 10 years ago as part of the soundtrack for an animated film. People all over the world loved it and made tribute music videos. One of them was made in Iran. Do you all remember this story? Anybody? I didn't notice it when it happened. Happy, silly young people dancing together without their headscarves in a video that accidentally went viral. This attracted the attention of authorities. The dancers were found guilty of illegal distribution of a film and illicit relations. and sentenced to prison terms and 91 lashes. Amnesty International said, with these sentences, the absurd meets the unjust. The sentences were suspended for 3 years, which means I don't think they received these punishments, but they were threatened with them if they fell afoul of any other laws during that time. So, we will be playing happy when we do our flower communion. We will be happy, perhaps, or we will engage in a spiritual practice of trying to be happy in solidarity with those who are happy, even when it's hard to be happy, expressing their birthright, joy, expressed, shared, and witnessed in community. But I do encourage you to find some time in silence with your flower when you get home. Earlier, we sang Mary Gregoria's song, I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. And actually, Renee, I wonder if I could ask you to play a few bars of that in a moment. We'll use it to welcome the kids back in. So we know that the rose will open. We know also that our flowers will wilt and fade. This is beautiful too, because not everyone has a chance to grow old and die naturally. So I hope that you'll keep your flower a little longer than you might normally keep a flower, so you can watch it through its life cycle. Celebration it has to be temporary. We cannot be exuberant forever. But just as it is exciting to wait for the blooms to open, let us find joy in the gentle after party and tidying up. This too can be spiritual practice. If you want to sing, you're welcome. We'll unfurl its wing. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. Fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. Sandy, I know will unfurl its wing. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. My fear will burn away. My soul will unfurl its wing. This rose will open. I know my soul will unfurl. This rose will open. Well, you may have that stuck in your heads later today. You are welcome. So the flower communion we are observing today is based on the Unitarian practice that started 100 years ago by Czech minister Norbert Čapek. He created it to bring together a wide diversity of people with many different beliefs to celebrate the values that they shared. Like us, they brought flowers, and when all the flowers were in the vases together, they symbolized both the unity and the diversity of the community. Norbert blessed the flowers, and then everyone came forward to take a flower. So the UU ministers, Teresa and David Schwartz, say that what we are about to do is not a historical reenactment of something over and done, but an affirmation of our continuity with the generations of struggle for ever widening liberty. This flower ceremony, lovely though it is, isn't a diversion from ugly reality, but a gentle fierceness, which proclaims that in the midst of sinister days, there is always the light of beauty. End quote. It is a celebration of life in the spirit. So we will start soon, but I will begin us with some words to help us understand the flowers as symbols. I'm adapting Norbert's original words to be a little friendlier to our ears. Infinite Spirit of life, you have blessed these flowers as messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts to be one in desire and affection and aligned with all that is good. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of sharing and cooperation. May we cherish friendship as one of the most precious gifts. May we not be discouraged or intimidated by others' talents, but instead realize that whatever we do, big or small, is part of the beautiful whole. It's almost time for the flower communion. So in a few moments, I'll ask you to come down this aisle. We will move clockwise. So if you're sitting over here, go back first. And after you get your flower, you can return to your seat this way. This isn't a silent ritual, we decided, but it is a ritual. So I encourage you to be thoughtful as you move through the space. If you want to dance or sing along to the music, great. If you want to chit-chat, please wait for coffee hour. As you come toward the flowers, notice as much beauty as you can in the flowers, in the light on the walls, in the back of the head of the person in front of you. The arrangement of the chairs. Feel joy and appreciation inside yourself, along with gentleness, justice, and love. And when you get to the communion vase, choose a flower different from the one you brought that seems to speak to you. Marvel at its particular shape and beauty and handle it carefully. Remember that it is a gift that someone else has brought to you. You can think of the flower as a symbol of that person, and you can treat the flower with kindness, like you would treat that person. You are welcome to dance with your flower, or just let it dance, and you can follow it back to your chair. And if you're joining us at home on Zoom, I welcome you to adapt this ceremony in your own way. Perhaps you can acknowledge each person you see on the screen and bless their flower. Perhaps you have a flower or something else beautiful in your space that you can immerse yourself in. So please, let us share this Unitarian and Universalist ritual of oneness, love, and celebration. Let's hear happy again. Can we do that? You're welcome to come forward when you wish, and no rush. You're also welcome to just be.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here. You can take a break.
Amen. Awesome. So I just have a couple of things. First, I want to say a public thank you to Jen and Matt Campbell for providing the base flowers that we had on the altar. Willie Bee Farms, they're just awesome members of our community. And I also want to say that when I die, I want to be remembered with celebration. So no, if you guys don't throw a huge party, I am going to be severely disappointed and it will come back to haunt you. And with that, Pastor Izzo will say closing words.
I would like to celebrate that we are not a people who will be told to wait to chit chat. So it's the first time I've seen us do this, and we move at our own pace. And we chit chat. So thank you for showing me how it's done. Our closing words are eluding me. Here they come. I'm sure they're on the paper. Here they are. So, and Judy will extinguish our chalice. Stick around, there's a few great announcements too. So the words of Amy Zucker Morgenstern. Within the heart of the flower, the fountain of beauty. Within the heart of community, a fire that warms and dances. Within the heart of each of us, a spark of the spirit of life. Holy, holy, holy. Thank you all. So next week, where will we be? Manhattan Mennonite. It's on Fremont. All three of us conveniently start at the same time, which is 10:45 a.m. It's really well designed. 2 weeks from now, I encourage you to come back here for some regional UU history. Ron Parks will be talking about an amazing Universalist minister who lived and worked in this area. And what else is going on that weekend, 2 weeks from now? Juneteenth, yeah, so we could use 2 more volunteers to help set up our table at the Douglas Center at 8:30 in the morning. Anybody interested? Yes, Diane. Okay, so other people interested in helping with that, let Marissa Larson or Diane know. And now, go chit chat.